Hello, hello. We are live here at Bike Week. Harley Davidson, Rainey Romero, and then, of course, we have the lovely Sarah Austin here, associate attorney for the lovely law firm. How are you, Sarah?
I'm good. It's so fun out here, and the weather is beautiful today.
It is. It's super nice today, in the shade especially.
Yeah.
We've had a couple of weird weather days.
Yeah, and I think the rain was kind of a vibe killer there for a while, but this weekend's supposed to be really nice, and today's awesome. It's crowded here.
Yeah, I was just telling Sarah when I got here, I feel like today is starting to really kick off the weekend because I'm noticing today is definitely a busier day than we've seen
busier
previously.
than any days so far. So I'm excited. It should be a fun weekend.
I'm excited too. And if you guys want to come see us, we are at Harley Davidson on the south end of Highway 17. We are having a blast. We're here every day, 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. And we are doing these podcasts every day at 2 p.m. You will see different faces on the podcast. We've got Biker Dad who's coming in for the weekend. So you guys will see him and Justin Lovely the next couple of days. All right, so today, Sarah and I are chatting about all the biker things related to law, right?
All the biker things. So, I mean, it's Thursday. I think it's Thursday.
Yeah.
We've been getting a ton of calls already from bikers and people in accidents, and I just kind of want to, I don't know if we've ever on this podcast yet, at least started kind of from start to finish and how that process works, and just kind of the questions I'm getting asked this week and all the time, especially motorcycle-related accidents, just so that we can keep y'all prepared and let you know what to expect, God forbid you find yourself in that situation.
Yeah, and unfortunately, I mean, I'm seeing a lot of bikers go down this bike week so far. So, we've kind of been talking about safety precautions so far on the podcast this week, and so that it still applies. Please make sure you're being careful. You're doing everything you need to do to check your bike and wear safety gear as you guys are out there. But yes, super important, Sarah, that we go over kind of what happens should the unfortunate event happen that you go down. We want to make sure you're prepared, you know what to do, or those around you are. So let's start with if something happens.
Yeah, so what happens after you're in a wreck, that immediate, hopefully you're riding in a pack and everybody's kind of holding it down until EMS personnel get there. And then most of the time in a motorcycle accident, you are going to be bleeding a little bit. You're going to be hurting. You're probably thrown from the bike if it's severe enough. And so most of the time you're headed to Grand Strand Regional Medical Center, which is the only trauma hospital. A lot of times they'll market it as a trauma just because a motorcyclist is involved and those injuries are a little more serious and they want to make sure they give you the full workup, right, to get you in the right place. So you're going to be shipped off to Grand Strand probably before the police officer does his final report and before all of that. And so a lot of times I get the call. I've been in an accident. I was in the hospital. I don't really know what happened after I left. And so that's where witnesses, whoever you're riding with, will give statements to the police officer. That police officer will write up a report. It's called an FR10 and a full accident report. Probably will come give it to you at the hospital. And then that's when people call me. And they say, what happens next? Sometimes they'll get calls from their insurance companies by that point, which is always interesting.
Do not talk to your insurance. Okay, so when they call you, you are not obligated to speak to them right off the rip, especially if you have an attorney involved. So do not speak to them at all until you can talk to the attorney and figure out exactly what's going on. Because that insurance company is going to try to swoop in there first, lowball you, and get you to sign something right off the rip. And so you do not want to do that. You want to talk to an attorney first.
Yeah, take your time, get out of the hospital, or call while you're in the hospital. I mean, we've had situations where riders go down, they're in the hospital after coming out of surgery, and State Farm and Geico are calling them, offering them, Justin calls them a SNAP settlement, right? Something that's quick, get you to sign away your rights for other coverages, and you really sell yourself short when you do that. So take some time whenever you come to and call Warrior first thing.
Yeah, and what should they do? I mean, obviously if they are the one that's super injured, then their family can call, or no? Yep,
their family can call. Any friends that are riding, we've had friends call. Anybody can call and just let us know that the accident happened. Obviously, we've got to talk to the rider, to get them signed up and to really get started. But we'll start that investigation as soon as we know that you've gone down and that you're hurt, and preserving evidence. So that way, whenever you do wake up in the hospital, or hopefully it's not that bad, we've already got a head start on all of that.
Yeah. So the spouse can't sign up? It's got to be the rider themselves?
The rider themselves, unless, of course, someone passes away, and then it gets very complicated. But hopefully that's not happening. But yeah, the rider themselves has got to.
But it does happen, Well, let's back up a little bit. So say the accident just happened. What are some tips for at the scene that people should do?
At the scene, take as many pictures as possible. Obviously, if you're the one that's injured, that's sometimes difficult. But if you can, get as many pictures as possible. You want to see of yourself, of where the bike landed, of where the car ended up. All that stuff's going to be really important. So if you're riding with somebody that goes down, take those pictures for that person, right? And then also, there's, especially during bike week, there's a sense of community that we don't normally have, but people will stop to help. And
True.
so get those people's names. Sometimes the police officer's got a lot going on. People are hurt. Doesn't get everybody's name. And we'll just have, I remember this lady in a yellow shirt stopped to help me. She saw everything. And then we've got to go back and find that person. It's very difficult. So if you've got friends on scene, exchange contact information with witnesses and take photos. It's the best thing you can do.
Yeah. Well, because once that evidence is gone, it's gone, I mean, you want to take all the pictures you can, because once everybody leaves that scene, you can't go back and say, oh, well, was there debris? And, oh, was there something in the road? Or, oh, was there whatever? That's going to help your case later. So that is definitely important.
Right. And we do have some cameras. I know the city of Myrtle Beach does a really good job at recording. So if you're within city limits, there's a chance it might be on video. One of the first things we'll do when we get the cases, we'll go find the local businesses to see if they had security footage pointing at the scene to see if we can capture that footage and get that video. But a lot of times that doesn't exist, and a lot of times, the best roads to ride on are out in the middle of nowhere, where you don't have a lot of traffic, and in those situations there's not video. So we do really rely on witness testimony, whoever you were riding with, and photos that you got.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. I kind of forget that the city has cameras everywhere.
Oh yeah.
Where are those? Are they on the actual highway?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know where they all are. The city is always recording, but they're at the intersections definitely. And we've gotten footage within the city limits. I swear they always have it recorded.
I don't ever see them. Are they in the stoplights themselves, or are they on poles? Do you know?
I have no idea.
It's
I just know that I get the videos, right? Because normally the city police officers do a really great job of going and getting them too when they're there, and they've solved hit and runs and things like that on those videos where they can track where everybody's going. So if you're in city limits, you're probably on video. I can't guarantee it, but that's good to know.
Yeah, I mean, in a way, I'm happy about that, because something happens, then I just thought that they were only, here and there. When you see the stoplight blinky flashing at you, then you're on camera. But I thought that was about it.
Yeah, no, I mean, they've got cameras everywhere. Mainly on the traffic lights, I think, but I'm not going to go. You have to ask Chief Proc where she puts them all.
Not doing that, but I'm glad they're there for our safety. So what else? What happens then? So we kind of talked about what to do at the scene if something happens, and then kind of the first steps after that. But then what happens once they sign up? What's the process?
So once you sign up, we'll start gathering information. That first form is going to be the FR10 form that we get. The DMV requires you to put your insurance company on notice. So one of the questions that we always get is, somebody else hurt me, they're going to pay for all my medical bills, which is not necessarily true. And so why do I have to involve my own insurance, my own health insurance, my own auto insurance? And so first, you've got to put your auto insurance on notice, because it's the law in South Carolina. If you read that accident form, it will say you have 15 days to turn this over to your insurance company through the DMV. And so we'll do that as part of requesting the accident report. We'll send that off to make sure you're covered as far as reporting goes. But then we're also looking for coverages on your policy that can protect you. And we've talked about UIM. I know Justin hit on it yesterday. I talked about it on Monday, why that's so important for you to have.
Yep.
But it's not just UIM that we're looking for. I see there's a lot of people here with custom bikes that are awesome. People have upgraded their bikes. They're doing it right now, right next to us.
They are.
When you are in an accident, the at-fault driver is going to have liability insurance coverage. They're going to pay for the blue book value of your bike, right? Without any of those upgrades, without any of those improvements that you've made and all that money you've invested to your bike. So we're looking for that supplemental property damage coverage. You could buy that. You should buy that if you've invested a lot of money into your bike. That'll cover all the parts that you've invested in, all that money and all the work you did on yourself or someone did for you. It'll really cover those extra things that you've got. So we're looking for that.
I didn't know about that.
Yep, to make sure that you get compensated completely for your bike and all the parts.
When you say you put your insurance on notice, what does that mean?
That means that's a good question. You're starting a claim on your own insurance. So you get in an accident, you start a claim on the at-fault driver's auto insurance. You'll start a claim with them, and they're obviously going to be primary, the first ones to pay. But then you'll also start a claim on your own auto insurance. And people always, a lot of people don't understand that before they've been in an accident.
Right.
and they don't want their insurance rates to go up or things like that. But you've got to do it. You've got to report it to your insurance company. They're going to open a claim. And then as your attorneys, we're really going to dig in and figure out what kind of coverage you have. What can we get you now to fix your bike? If you've got that personal injury protection or PIP or med pay on your policy, that can be very helpful immediately after the accident. And then, of course, that underinsured motorist coverage that kicks in later if you exceed that at-fault coverage.
This is so much stuff, Sarah.
I know.
Holy cow. This is why you need an attorney. There's no way you guys would know about all these things. No. So this is why Sarah is awesome at what she does. I do not do this. I don't know all of this stuff, but I'm so happy that I have Sarah and Justin and all the team that knows all this, and this is why you need them if something happens. You need them to walk you through this process. You do not want to be messing with all that stuff while you're trying to get better. So,
right, and you don't want to take your insurance adjuster's word for it, especially your own insurance adjuster, right? People will think that, you know, State Farm's going to be on my side. I've been paying them for 30 years. I've been with Allstate forever, or the Hartford or Geico, whoever they are. When you're in this situation, when you're in an accident, there's a chance that they're going to have to pay. And so you guys are your adversaries at that point, right?
Yep.
They're trying to save money for the insurance company and kind of limit what they have to pay, and that's at the expense of you. And so you've been paying, if you've been paying State Farm or the Hartford or Allstate for over 30 years and you're in an accident, you should not feel bad at all about starting a claim on that policy and making sure that you're getting what you paid for.
Yeah, I mean, they're nice to you for customer service when you sign up and when you have questions and all that good stuff, but then when something like this happens, it's their job to protect their company as well. So they're going to try and save their company money by giving you, lesser than what you should be getting and all the things, because they're trying to save that money for their company. So, it's a slippery slope.
Right. But it's good to have all that coverage. And so we talk about reviewing your policies before you're in an accident. That's really the best way. You can protect yourself, but after you're in an accident, you want to give, and this is another question I'll get, I need your motorcycle policy, the policy for the bike that you were driving when you were in the wreck, but I also need all the policies that you have at your house. For all of your vehicles and for all of your, they call it resident relatives, but anybody who's related to you that you live with could also have coverage that would cover you. So we'll start, it's common for us to start claims on all those policies and investigate where you can find the money that you need and how it's going to be paid, whether you can stack it all up and get a lot, or whether you're limited. That will all be in those policies. And so we start those claims right when we start the liability claim for the at-fault driver. We'll start the underinsured claim on your policy and start investigating all of that.
That's super interesting. And real quick, if you hear all of the fabulous soundtrack in the back, we are here at Bike Week Spring Rally 2024, Harley Davidson. We have a booth here, so we're giving out swag. We're giving out about lots of cool stuff, and we also have a giveaway going on right now for $20,000 towards a bike. So you have a chance to sign up for that. It's free to sign up, and you have a chance to win $20,000 towards a bike of your choice. And we have our winner last year who got something at Redline. He got like a crossover bike. So it does happen. People do win. You want to make sure you sign up for that, and you get a free souvenir t-shirt like the ones behind us when you sign up. So lots of good stuff going on over here, and our ladies are ready and willing to chat up a storm with you. We've got a booth here at Harley Davidson, and then we also have one at Beaver Bar. So we are there all through Bike Week. We're here in the day, and then we stay at Beaver Bar until 9 o'clock at night, and then they keep going. They keep partying down there.
Yeah, they stay up way past my bedtime.
But right next to us, we've got our vendor neighbors over here, Rick Rack. So they are doing a lot of sound systems and audio stuff. So we've got like a built-in soundtrack in this recording. So
yeah, I feel like they're turning it up today too.
I think so too. So can you explain, I always get confused on all the different types of coverages too, and I know that you mentioned PIP. Can you explain what PIP is?
Sure. So it's personal injury protection. Sometimes it's called medical payments coverage. It's a no-fault coverage that you can have on your policy. We recommend that you carry up to your deductible on your health insurance. And so if your deductible is $7,500, you want to carry $7,500 of PIP. What it is it kicks in immediately, right? When you get into an accident, we've got to investigate liability, and we're looking for more than the at-fault driver's policy. We're looking for dram shops, excess coverage, all of those things, and then we're looking at your underinsured, and sometimes that takes time. PIP is no-fault coverage that kicks in, so you can, in South Carolina law, you could submit the insurance bill to your insurance company, and they'll pay that PIP to you directly and immediately, and that's normally with no attorney's fees. It really helps in situations where, if you go to the hospital at Grand Strand and your hospital bill's $25,000 and you've got $7,500 of PIP, you submit that bill, your insurance company will send you $7,500. That can be really helpful. It can pay your deductible so you're not out of pocket while we're working on the rest of your case. It can go towards property damage, fixing your vehicle or your motorcycle. You can really use it on whatever you want. It's designed to pay for that medical bill.
Right.
But your health insurance is going to pay for that medical bill if you have it, or the third party. So the at-fault driver's insurance will pay those bills and you're underinsured. So PIP is really great to have, and it really is that coverage. Like property damage, it kicks in right away. As soon as you have a medical bill, you can go and get that PIP. And so it's kind of, it works practically as sort of a gap coverage to kind of fill you in right afterwards, get you some money, hopefully get you back on your feet and not make you in the hole.
Yeah.
While we work on.
I need to check and make sure I've got that. Yeah. No, that is good. And I think a lot of times with any legal claim, people need to remember to be patient too, right? I don't think, a lot of times you don't really need an attorney all the time. It's not like going to get your hair done. You have it all the time, so you know what to expect. A lot of times people only need it once in their life, if at all. And so you're not quite sure of the process. So I think people don't understand that this is a long process. I mean, investigating and gathering all that research and all the medical claims and all the things, I mean, it takes a long time. Yeah, because people will ask me, especially when you're, oh my, there's my dad. Hi, Dad. Did you ride your bike here? Sarah's dad is in the background. He's behind the camera, so it's a nice surprise. My dad rode down here, not on his bike though. Just double checking. But what was I talking about? Long process. And people will ask all the time, why do I need to hire a lawyer? If my medical bills are $100,000 and they've only got $25,000, what's the point? The point is there's a lot that goes into that. First, $25,000 might not be all that there is. You really want someone who knows what they're doing to try to track down all that insurance coverage and make sure that you can get all of it. Two, there's a lot of people that are going to try to want a piece of that pie. And if you don't hire a lawyer, you don't have, we'll have health insurance liens, medical bills, all that kind of stuff. The lawyer's job is to make sure you walk away with as much money in your pocket as possible without owing anybody else. Right. And it's really worth it to have someone that knows what they're doing, that knows the local providers, that can try to make that happen quickly, right? If you hire a local lawyer, it's going to go a little bit faster, I would assume, than someone who doesn't know how things work down here, hospital system, those kinds of things. But what's great, just to chime in real quick about the lovely law firm, and Sarah really, is that they really maximize and dig for every little thing that you could get to help you the most that you can. I feel like a lot of times you may, go to an attorney and they do it and they get it done, but after the fact you find out that, I could have gotten a little bit more for this tiny thing or that tiny thing or whatever. And Sarah does a really great job of really digging deep to look for every little ounce of every little penny that you could get for different reasons and how to maximize that for you. So it's really great. Yeah, I do take pride in that. I'm known to hold out a long time for $1, but it's usually worth it, right? And it's worth the fight, and it's a fight on a lot of fronts. And you really need someone that can fight for you, especially while you're injured and you're down. And the goal is, when you hire us, is you get to focus on getting better. And that can be your main purpose, and you don't have to talk to insurance companies or make sure that your bills are being billed to your health insurance properly, and figuring out who you owe after you come out of this kind of a mess that you're in. You can focus on just getting better. And so that's what we try to make it easy for you. Well, and sometimes you go and you seek legal counsel and you're not happy with it, and then you try to come to us and you say, listen, I'm with XYZ and they're not doing anything, or they're doing a terrible job, we want to switch to you. Really, we are not allowed to talk to you unless you drop them, right? How does that work? Yep, so if someone has already hired a lawyer, you've got to stick with that lawyer until you fire them. And then after, you can't have two lawyers at one time. That's not fair to anybody, and not, especially not fair to you. You don't want people fighting over it. So one lawyer at a time. Moral of the story, just start with the lovely law firm, and then you don't have to go around. You always can seek a second opinion, but you're going to want to hire the right person right away. That way you make sure that investigation is being done at the beginning right away, and everything's being taken care of. Yeah, and evidence isn't getting lost, in the way. So. Yep. I don't even know where we are. So it's a long process. So just be aware of that. I got into like a fender bender this past year. It was my very first accident of any kind, and I had to use Sarah. Poor thing, she was bothered by me all the time. But it was a really great process because I didn't understand what that was like until I actually went through it. I didn't realize all the different steps that were going on. And Sarah, was back and forth. She's like, this is what they want to offer, and it's crap, and so I'm gonna fight for a little bit more. And so it really gave me some perspective and appreciation for kind of what they do. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah, and I think unique, not to share all of your business, but you had more than one case over the years, right? And the first one went a lot easier than the second one. And so sometimes people will be in accidents, especially getting into Bike Week in particular, and people coming from out of state. I met a bunch of people from New Jersey, New York, that came down here, Pennsylvania. The laws there are very different. The insurance policies there are very different. So they'll be in an accident in a different state or even in South Carolina and say, well, this is not how it went the first time.
Exactly. Yeah, that was me.
Each case is very unique, right? And it depends on the insurance carrier, the facts, the states, what kind of policies. If you're down here and you get hit, someone from New Jersey causes the accident, that'll be a little different too, because the insurance policy is written in New Jersey and not in South Carolina, and so you really
in that New Jersey language.
Yeah, I'm fluent in that, so that's great. So you want somebody who knows how the policies work. We're lucky here in Myrtle Beach. I mean, we've always got people visiting from out of state, so we've run into almost every insurance policy in the state. I don't want to say every single one. I'm sure I haven't seen Iowa or something like that, but we do have to interact with different states' policies all the time. Sure. It's just going to be different. It's going to be different every time in every state.
Yeah. And, like Sarah said, I mean, this happened to me, and I mean, I don't care. We were injured, but not to a catastrophic degree, thank God. But it was the weirdest thing because I was hit by two vehicles. I don't mind sharing this because neither of it was my fault. So I was hit by one vehicle at the beginning of the year, in January, ran into the back of me and knocked me into the car in front of me. That was the first thing that happened. Then in the fall of the same year, this was last year, by the way, in the fall of the same year, the same thing happened in a different location. So got hit from the back, pushed me into the car into the front of me. And I was telling Sarah when the second accident happened, I was like, this is so weird. Why isn't it going the same way it went the first way? Why is it taking twice as long as it took the first time? And it was a different insurance provider that the other vehicle had. So that made everything get delayed a lot further because that insurance adjuster was more difficult to work with. He was slower with getting things back to us. He wanted to lowball us every time, so we had to kind of keep pushing back, and it was a much different process. So very interesting. So that's something to keep in mind. If you ever need it and you've had friends who have had attorneys and the process is different, just know that it may not always be the attorney that change is over. It could be a lot of different factors like what Sarah's saying. But I knew that with the lovely law firm and with Sarah personally working on that case, that, I mean, all of that, I didn't have to think about it being the attorney's fault, right?
Right.
I didn't think about the attorney being lazy or anything like that. It was, I knew something was up because I knew Sarah is always on her game. So it's just interesting. It's different. But anyways, getting back to the bikers and Bike Week, again, we are here at Harley Davidson on the South End. We're the lovely law firm, Myrtle Beach Biker Lawyer as well. So we are involved in a ton of biker events throughout the year and sponsorships of the rides. And we always love to come here for the spring and the fall rally. So we're having a blast out here. And we're talking about all the things you need to know should the unfortunate event happen that you have an accident, you go down while you are visiting and having a good time for Bike Week, which we hope doesn't happen, but we want you to be prepared if it does. So we're talking about the process. We've kind of gone through what happens, if you go down, what the initial step is, and how long the process takes. But then kind of what is the next, after you initially sign up, and we've talked about that, and you're gathering all the information. At what point does it kind of wrap up, and what are the final steps, and how long, what's an average time frame for something like that?
An average time frame it really depends on how injured you are and what's going on. Okay. So while you're going to the doctor and getting your medical treatment, I guess we are requesting your medical records and bills at that time. We're also making that if you've got health insurance, that your health insurance is being billed properly. And I'll get this question a lot, which is, why does my health insurance have to pay? Why does my personal health insurance have to pay?
Yeah, it wasn't my fault.
Somebody else hurt me. The reason that they have to pay is because, one, you're in a contract with your health insurance carrier, and so are all of the hospitals around. Even if you're from out of state, most of your health insurance policies will cover emergency room care no matter where it happens, right? And so, for example, we've got the trauma hospital here, Grand Strand, which most motorcyclists are going to end up at. They've got a contract with Medicare, with Blue Cross for contracted rates. So if your hospital bill is $1,000, they've contracted with your health insurance that your health insurance will pay them $100 and they'll write off the rest. How that works when you're in a motorcycle accident, right, is you're going to get a lump sum settlement from the liability carrier at some point, and maybe other carriers, depending on what kind of coverage you have and how injured you are. From that liability settlement, you're going to have to pay your medical bills. So you either owe the $100 to your health insurance provider, right, because they paid $100 and the hospital wrote off the rest,
right?
Or you owe $1,000 to the hospital, and so it ends up with more money in your pocket at the end of the day if your health insurance is paying those bills up front.
Yeah.
At the same time, the providers, your doctor's offices, your hospitals, they know that if you're getting a big third-party settlement, if you're getting $1 million liability settlement, they're going to get more money from your settlement than they are from those contracted rates that they've agreed upon before any of this even happened. And so they will sometimes hold off as long as possible, refusing to bill that health insurance to try to get more money from your settlement. So it doesn't just become a fight with, it doesn't stop, the fight doesn't stop once we get you a settlement. It kind of is just beginning. At that point, we've got to work on your health insurance liens, and so that's what I'm talking about when your health insurance has a right to be paid from your settlement for what they paid related to the accident.
And your attorney can talk those amounts down.
Those are negotiable,
yeah,
right? And they don't, first of all, you don't always have a lien. Sometimes people assert liens that don't have the right to. Some liens are that some, health insurance providers always have liens. For example, Medicare, right? Government, they always have a right. We've got to tell them about your settlement and make sure you pay them. Sometimes people will say they have a lien when they actually don't, and so we can get it resolved, waived completely or taken away. Sometimes we can negotiate that down. So if your lien is $100,000, we can get it down, especially based on insurance coverage. So there's a whole nother settlement negotiation process that begins after you settle your case.
That amount. Wow.
That kind of extends the time, right, that you might have to wait for money. But again, that's all going towards the concept that you're going to walk away with as much as possible without owing anybody any money. And so that's really, really important and a big important part of the fight that I think people don't ever think about until they're in it.
Yeah. Well, what do people do if you are injured? Are they having to pay for these medical bills in the moment, or do they all get added up later?
So that's where that PIP comes in, that personal injury protection, that med pay, if you owe any bills up front or for your deductible. But when we get involved, we will say don't pay any of them, and we're going to resolve them all out of settlement. So we either get them billed to insurance, we'll figure out what you owe after insurance, how much you owe your health insurance, and we'll try to get all of those bills reduced. That way you walk away with as much as you can.
So that never keeps them from getting like the exams and stuff that they need in the moment, right?
No, it should not.
Okay, cool.
Especially not if you have health insurance, right?
Yeah. Well, I know we work with certain providers that will help with, what's the one?
Merit.
Merit, yes. What do they do again? They help out with
so not just Merit, but other, there's companies that we can work with. We work with providers. It's called a letter of protection. That means that if you don't, and these are for people who don't have health insurance, right? How do you get treatment? But you know that you're going to get a settlement. We can sign what's called a letter of protection or get you set up with medical care. So you'll see the same doctors you would see if you had health insurance, but you'll just promise to pay them back at the end when you get a settlement in.
Yeah.
And so we do that a lot of times when people don't have health insurance. That's also a lot, dependent on how much insurance coverage there is. Obviously, if you've had surgery at the hospital and your bills are hundreds of thousands of dollars and you don't have any UIM coverage, which is very unfortunate.
Yes.
If you haven't been listening to our podcast at all, and you're stuck with $25,000, there is no more money, right? We're just trying to reduce that hospital bill and work with the hospital so that you don't owe the hospital, but we can't get you that treatment.
Right.
So it kind of all loops together, right? Get that PIP and med pay to start with, but also have that underinsured coverage so that doesn't happen to you. And also, I don't work for health insurance providers, but get on the marketplace and get yourself some insurance. That will
Yeah, no, I get that for sure. Especially if you're riding a bike, right? I mean, your chances of being injured, and not just injured, but catastrophically injured, go through the roof on a bike versus in a car, because you have zero protection around you. So all of that impact you are taking on your body and not your vehicle. So, we were talking earlier that there's, every bike week, there's always, a certain number of bikes that go down. And so they're rolling in now. I was just telling Justin yesterday on the podcast that there was a guy who got killed right in front of my house yesterday on Highway 544, and it was not his fault. The SUV pulled out, hit two riders, didn't even see them, and one died and one's injured, still in the hospital. So, we get reports of these just from the news every day of bikes going down. So you just really want to, of course, be safe, but also know what to do should you or someone in your group go down as well.
Yep, and check your coverages before it happens. That's the best thing you can do to protect yourself and your family. But not just bikes. I want to talk a little bit about pedestrians too, because
that's good.
We've got a lot of traffic here in Myrtle Beach during bike week, bike traffic, but also foot traffic. Right, people are drinking and not driving, which is great. People are walking, across the street, 17 to the bars. I know there's a lot of foot traffic around Suck Bangalow. Sure. We get a lot of calls of pedestrians who are in accidents during bike week.
I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, and a lot of times, if you're not walking in a crosswalk, which there's not really a lot of crosswalks in the bike week areas, right, where people are hanging out. I think I just saw a group of 8-pack when I was pulling in crossing 17 out here, and I was telling Danny, it's our duty as drivers during bike week to slow down in these high traffic areas. We know they're coming.
Yeah.
I'm driving slow. I'm looking out for people coming here. I'm looking out for bikers, but also people walking.
Yeah, it's almost like a school area.
Yeah, and especially at the bars. And so if you are a pedestrian that's hit during bike week, the police officers are most of the time going to put you at fault because you're not in a crosswalk. So when you get that accident report, it's going to say that you contributed to the accident. But don't let that stop you from calling a lawyer or from calling us. Specifically, we've had a lot of success getting that turned around in the civil cases, right? Because when you get into the civil side of it, right, criminally, for traffic court purposes, the police officers are going to say you weren't a crosswalk. But when it comes down to who's at fault for your injuries, well, drivers in Myrtle Beach, especially during bike week, right, have a duty to see what's in front of them and to look out, to slow down, to be cautious. And to look out for those pedestrians, even at nights, right? That's when you need to be the most careful, at nighttime, when everybody's, not riding their motorcycle, they're drinking and bar hopping. They've got a duty to see and to look out for you, and so you still have a claim, even if you're a pedestrian, even if you're a motorcyclist too, right? If the police officer marks you at fault, still call us and still have us evaluate that, because that's not always the case.
Yeah, and you know what? I even have to tell my husband and stuff. I think that drivers sometimes feel validated if they hit if I hit them, they were in the way, they were in the road.
Yeah.
And I'm like, no. Sarah told me that even if that person is in the road where there's not a crosswalk, you're still gonna.
You're driving.
You're still gonna get in trouble.
A machine, a vehicle. You have to stop for people in the roadway, and you have to drive slow in these areas. And I will go to court and die on that hill. That drunk people should be able to walk. Yeah. And that drivers should be sober and should be looking out for people having a good time at bike week in the roadway. Yeah. Motorcyclists and just people walking around.
Yeah. Speaking of having a good time at bike week, I think we have some footage showing some of the fun stuff going on around here. We've got Danny who took some footage of bonus is they have air-conditioned bathrooms.
I was just going to say that.
Outside. They have the vendor that pulls up like the big trailer that's air-conditioned. I mean, that might not be a win for some people, but that's a win for me.
Yeah, I agree.
Just look at that. So many bikes. It's crazy. I love it. And I love how every bike is just different. There's always different customizations for each one. I feel like that's half the fun, is it's kind of like a show, a bike show, walking around and seeing what everybody does to their bikes.
It really is. I mean, there's a ton of money people have put into these bikes. You can see it. Hopefully they have that coverage they need.
Yeah.
That's what I think when I'm walking around.
That's so funny. Sarah's funny. Oh, a little teddy bear. It's cute.
Oh, that's awesome.
Mm-hmm. So, I mean, coming out for the sites is awesome. We talked about earlier, too, that the North End has kind of dwindled down with everything that they have going on. Usually there's a lot of events going on up there near Barefoot. And this year, they kind of all got pushed down to the South End. So there's not a whole lot going on up on the North End. Ooh, hydraulics. That's one of my favorite features, the hydraulics. It sounds super cool. So we've got the North End going. There's the Harley up there is still doing stuff. So if you want to see the Harley shop up on the North End, they've got a lot of bikes that are out there and displayed, and some vendors up there as well. But here on the South End, where we're at, so I'm a little biased, is where it's at. So definitely come down here, see us. We have so much stuff on this table. We've got look out for motorcycle magnets for your car. Those are awesome. We've got slap koozies, which has been everybody's favorite thing. I almost feel like it's like a fidget toy. You just like sit there and like slap, snap like the slap bracelets, but it's a koozie. Super cool. So you can have those for your drinks, and also people are talking about putting them on like the spokes or the handlebars on their motorcycles, so they have like a koozie wherever they go. Oh, that's awesome. I thought that was a good idea.
But also don't sleep on the hairbrushes, which is like my favorite thing that we have. I've got one in every single one of my purses.
Do you?
They just fold out, and they're perfect. So if you are wearing your helmet, which I love to see, you can fix your hair when you get off your bike, but also just for any circumstances, they're awesome. And kids love them.
Yeah, they're small.
I love them.
And they fold out, and the brush pops out. It's got a mirror in there. That's like, that's all we need.
My favorite swag that we've got.
I think my favorite is actually the chapstick.
Yeah.
Just because it's amazing. That's what I have in every corner of everything. I've got it in my purse, my car, my house, my office. Just because those always fly off the shelf. But anyways, it's all free. It's all free, and it's all here for you guys to grab. So make sure you stop by the booth. There's no obligations for anything, and of course we have our $20,000 giveaway that you could win. You could have a chance to win that $20,000 towards a bike of your choice. They used to actually do a bike, but then people were like, well, I don't want this specific bike. Like, I want to choose my own bike. So now they give you $20,000. You can choose whatever bike you want, put it towards whatever bike that is. So it's pretty cool. It's a pretty cool thing. Yeah. People think that it's like spam once we contact them and say, you've won. There was a guy a couple years ago who won, and then he thought it was spam, so they ended up having to draw somebody else.
Yeah, so answer the phone, right? If you sign up, it is real, and you might win. So.
Yes. So the guy last year actually answered the phone, and he got his bike. So, keep an eye out for that. That is a nationwide contest. That is with NAML, so that's the National Academy of Motorcycle Injury Lawyers. They put that on every year. It's awesome. So it's nationwide. And Myrtle Beach has been representing because we've been having the winner for
I think we're going to do it again this year.
So I feel like your odds are like in your favor, So anyways, come over. You can sign up for that over here at Harley Davidson or at our booth down at Beaver Bar with our other girls. We've got Morgan and Emmy. Those are our veteran booth girls down at Beaver Bar, so they'll get you all hooked up there.
They're having a good time down there.
They are. It's a different vibe, right? It's a different vibe at Harley versus Beaver Bar. I feel like people start their day here, seeing the sights, going shopping, getting their custom work done, and then they just like continually travel south, and like the party gets crazier. The further you go.
As the night goes on. Yeah.
Yep. So fun stuff happening though. There's a lot of bands this week going on, and a lot of I know SBB and Beaver Bar. There's just like constant bands, constant events going on, different contests. So it's definitely a fun group.
Really fun.
Yep. And you guys can visit us on all of our social media. We are everywhere that you consume everything. You'll see Justin's face and Sarah's on everything. TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube. And then, of course, you can visit us online at justiceislovely.com or myrtlebeachbikerlawyer.com. And then, just call with any questions you have. So sometimes people they don't want to, they think they've already decided, right? They're already like, no, this is not going to be a case for me. I've been marked at fault. Or, I'm from XYZ. A lot of people don't realize that you need an attorney wherever the accident happened. They're like, oh, when I get back home, I'll talk to my attorney. No, you want it to be local. You want it to be as soon as possible after the accident happens. And really, if you just have any of those questions, you can reach out to us at the office, 843-839-4111, and we can answer those questions for you as well.
Right, and it's free. So we'll get a lot of times, what is this going to cost me? It's free to talk to us. We'll talk about your case, the specific facts of your case, whether you're marked at fault, if we think we can overcome it, and we'll give you our honest opinion. But it doesn't cost anything to give us a call if you've been in an accident or you know someone that's been in an accident. We're happy to help as much as we can.
Yeah. And of course, I know we talked a little bit about our accident scene management classes that we do for bikers locally, but that is something to always check out too, especially if you live somewhere in the area. We sponsor those classes, which means that we pay for it all,
including the food.
Yes, the food and your entry for the program. We pay for the teacher traveling to come and teach this. So what that is an ex-EMT, ex-nurse, ex-physician, somebody with a medical background teaches that class and gives you all the training for your bike. So should you go down. So that's tourniquet training, helmet removal, how to safely remove somebody from the road so that they are not in danger's way. And it's really, really important because a lot of times first responders, while we love them and they're great, they are more so trained in vehicle crashes. So when they get there and a biker's gone down, they don't have as much training for something like that. And it's a very different response than how you would respond to someone who's been injured in a car accident. So really, really beneficial for bikers in the area. Everybody who's taken that class really rants and raves about it. And then they always come back for the advanced class, which happens after you've taken the first class and you want to do an advanced course. So really cool. And that we have a couple classes coming out.
Yeah, we love to see people sign up for that. We work with a bunch of the local clubs. It's always great getting to meet everybody around here, but also just knowing that everybody's being safer. Mm-hmm. Those moments right after the collision, before the EMS gets there, are sometimes, they're the most critical moments.
Yeah.
They can save your friends. And so if you're trained in what to do in those moments until the first responders get there, it can make a world of difference. It makes my job easier because then I'm talking to a client who's alive, who has their limbs, whose friends really saved their life, and it makes it a lot of an easier process than the alternative, right, which is dealing with catastrophic injuries and death, which we never want to see. So reach out and sign up for those classes. They're free. We just want everybody to be safer in the event something happens.
Yeah, it's like, it's the law firm's like passion project. They're very passionate because they're very involved in the biker community. It's not just cases that they take. We do a lot of community service with bikers. We are out at rallies. We are out at, sponsorship drives and nonprofit events. So we are fully invested in the biker community, and that's just another way to just help our bikers. So it's really a win-win. There's no reason why that shouldn't be on your to-do list, because your safety is there's nothing more important. So anyways, yes, we have a couple of those coming up, so just make sure that you reach out to the law firm if you want to sign up for that. And we give you food, really, if nothing else.
Justin or I will be there to talk about all this stuff again, to answer specific questions about your insurance policy, your health insurance, have a more in-depth conversation about some of the stuff we're talking about here, and really, really get you prepared for the event that something does happen to you or someone that you love, that you know what to do, you know who to call, you know that you're covered. And so we want to have those conversations before you call me that something bad has happened.
Yeah. Well, and real quick, I want to touch on just kind of the insurance harassment for half a second.
Sure.
Because I have worked with some friends that they get very confused about this part of things. So, we've talked about, hey, don't talk to your insurance when this happens, and let your attorney handle it and, guide you on what to do there. But, I still think it gets a little confusing because, at some point you need to talk to them about certain things. And so I know for me, when it happened, I was like, okay, well, I'm not going to talk to my insurance person. They're calling me, but I'm just going to ignore them. I'm going to go talk to Sarah and be like, Sarah, help, what do I do? But then they're like, only, I guess your insurance needs some sort of form, or you'd have to sign something, right? At some point?
At certain points, yeah, you're going to have to sign certain documents when you finish up property damage, when you're doing those kinds of things.
Yeah. So pretty much, I guess what I'm saying is people get confused about that because they're like, oh, I'm not supposed to talk to them, but they're hassling me about this and that. So really, you just want to let your attorney guide you on that, on what you should, be in correspondence with and what you should not. And don't let them bully you.
Don't feel rushed, right? I think there's a lot of people who are in the hospital feeling like they have to take these phone calls. and answer their insurance company. You do not have to do that right away. You've got 15 days to turn that over to the DMV. If you call us, when you're in the hospital, right when you get out, we're going to make sure that all of that is taken care of, and you don't even have to start the claim up yourself, right? We can do that. So don't feel rushed when you're injured to speak to the insurance company. That's a lot of times when, you're in the hospital giving a statement, you just came off anesthesia, they're going to try to use that statement, if we have to go to court later against you.
Yeah.
And so just don't feel rushed to answer any of those questions, and don't sign anything without having a lawyer look at it. Just really cover your bases.
Do you ever, this is kind of an interesting question, but do you ever run into issues like customization for the bike, like was against whatever like laws, or like it caused any kind of issue like with the claim?
I mean, sometimes I won't put it past any insurance carrier to make any argument. Yeah. Right? I mean, less with bikes, sometimes with bikes, a lot of times with like the illegal squatted trucks and things like that. They'll pick and pull anything. At the end of the day, it's going to be up to a jury, and that's kind of what we go off of, who was more at fault. We've got comparative negligence in South Carolina, which is a fancy word for the jury gets to apportion who's at fault and how much recovery there is. And so the customizations might be, even if they are, right, made it a little bit more dangerous. That's not going to keep you from having a claim, right, for if you're injured and somebody else caused the accident. Gotcha. It can't be because of a part of your bike. Right. So sometimes
can there be a claim if it's like weather related? If like it was raining and you slid? I mean, you can't really do anything with that, can you?
Are you talking about like single motorcycle accidents? Yeah. It depends. I know that's a classic lawyer answer. It depends. Was the roadway safe? You could have a claim against the DOT for not keeping the roadways up to par. It's very difficult to have a single car collision claim. We've got to have the evidence to prove that but it's not impossible. Yeah. Right. And if someone did the work on your bike that caused your bike to crash, that's not impossible. Yeah. To collect from there either. So if you have any doubts, or any speculation that the road wasn't right, there was construction, it was raining, and XYZ happened, or I don't think the part was installed right on my bike, give us a call and we'll look into everything, and it doesn't cost you anything to call us and kind of give you that free consultation and let us know what we think. It's just gonna be very fact specific, even more so on those single motorcycle accidents.
Well, it sounds kind of silly to say, but there's always got to be somebody to blame, right? Right. When I was learning about the law world, I had asked Justin something like that, like, oh, well, if it was raining and it's wet, so it made me slip, can I have a claim? And he was like, well, who are you going to sue? Right. You going to sue the weather?
I mean, we get those calls. We get those calls too when they're like, I hit a deer, and I'm like, I can't sue the deer.
Right. So there are unfortunate things that happen, but if there was something else, like the road, there was a pothole that was not filled or whatever, then you can possibly take that to more of a city DOT type of thing.
Right. It's just going to be very fact specific. But that being said, in single motorcycle accidents, the passenger will always have a claim, right? If the driver was driving too fast in the rain, passengers have a claim against the driver.
Oh, that's true.
Even in vehicle versus motorcycle collisions, the passenger can sometimes claim against the at-fault driver vehicle, but also against the motorcyclist who is driving. And so there's different ways to kind of layer insurance companies. I know usually when you're a passenger, you're on your friend's bike or your husband's bike, but there's still insurance that you can get, right? Especially if you're very injured as a passenger.
Yeah. And you're not suing them, right? You're not suing your husband or your, whoever. You're suing that insurance. So
right, and so on paper you might name your husband, but it's your insurance company that you've been paying money to all this time that's going to be filling in. And if your husband was a little bit liable, a lot of times we'll see husband and wife in accident, and the wife is really hurt, and the husband's saying, I'm so sorry that my wife was hurt. I need my insurance company needs to pay for this. And so
that's interesting.
Yeah, passengers, I don't want to say always, because I don't like the word always, but if you're a passenger, you most likely have a claim, and you should give us a call if you're hurt.
Yeah. Well, any final thoughts, Sarah?
No. I just want everybody to be safe.
Yes,
and we talk a lot about accidents, and I ride around and I see everybody. It's so nice to see people riding in packs and wearing their boots, even though it's hot outside, and wearing their helmets. I love to see that, and I also love to see, me and all the other cars on the road slowing down when we get around here. And so everybody just be safe. Don't drink and drive. Yeah. Take care of yourselves and each other.
Oh, Sarah, I like that sweet thing. So, Yes. See, she cares. She cares.
I do care.
Her family rides, and we have people at the office who ride, and so, you know, it's the Lovely Law Firm is a group of people who understand the biker world.
Yeah,
so.
I know. I mentioned my dad. You saw me kind of look at him like, did you ride your bike? He's been having some health issues. And I've been telling him not.
Oh, so he was going to get in trouble if he
Yeah,
rode
I was
his bike.
telling him, you don't need to be riding your bike given all that's going on here. So I was just making sure he was being safe.
Well,
I'm always
good.
the safety
Oh, we
police.
got people in front of the camera. This is Bike Week. That's right. It goes right in with the Bike Week. So anyways, we're gonna hop off here. We will be back on 2 p.m. every day this week. So feel free to tune in. We'd love to hear from you. If you're watching, we'd love to see your experiences. Send us your pictures from Bike Week. And especially if you get like our shirts or our swag or whatever.
Oh yeah.
Take a picture and send that to us. We'd love to see that. We are on everywhere that you consume your social media, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, TikTok, online, justiceislovely.com. And, of course, you can call us 843-839-4111. Thank you guys so much for joining us today. We will see you guys tomorrow.